things like that.
Well, here we go. Now, okay, Missiles and Cinderstorm. Cards like that can be very powerful in this matchup, but I feel as though generally the Paladin is just going to get itself onto the board quicker than the Mage can deal with the minions. And I believe the Paladin should be able to overrun the Mage because of that.
On top of having the pseudo board clears, should definitely try and look for their 1-drops, and this version is not running Dire Moles as other versions have. It's instead just running Double Firefly. They have 1 Glacial Shard, but this is not the matchup where you want that.
No. But no.
It's interesting that Team Wii chose to keep Blessing of Might, which I'm not sure how good that is in this particular matchup.
That's a very good point, actually. In what scenario would Blessing of Might actually pay off? I guess if they had their own Diamol,
right.
Which they... Wait, sorry, they don't run Diamol either.
Yeah, Fireflies.
Stonehill Defender, I guess, could be a good target for Blessing of Might. I don't know, that seems weird.
That's not in the deck either, I think. It's Vicious Fledgling and Luna and Pyromaniac. And
no, the Paladin deck with the Blessing of Might.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I thought you meant things you'd want to run it into.
Oh, no, I was talking about things you want to put it on, because that's the other problem, is that the Mage can deal with almost everything. So what are you actually trying to target with Blessing of Might?
It seems like it's going to get played next turn because Yuan Su doesn't have much of anything better to do.
Yep.
But speaking of not having good things to do, Kylan, I don't like pulling the trigger on the Arcane Missile this early. Just seems like such a waste of mana.
I agree, and actually playing a 3-drop here is a good alternative to that. Obviously, is it Pyromaniac? Is that the name of the card? My mind's gone blank suddenly.
No worries.
It has 4 health, so in theory it doesn't die to the board. But now look how strong that Blessing of Might is all of a sudden.
Yeah, you're thinking it's a weird keep, but I guess thinking that the Mage only begins to do powerful things by turn 3, he kept it hoping to answer one of those turn 3 plays conveniently, and it will work out for him here. Blessing of Kings and Hero Power. Trade away one of the recruits.
Yep.
Gone are the days when you preserved recruits all over. I mean, over all other minions because level up.
Well, now Yansu's hand is looking great, and Kylan's he gets the secret and the Kirin Mage turn, but it doesn't do much. 3 minions just trade into it, or 2 if Yansu plays the buff, and then Kylan sort of has nothing again next turn.
The arcane missiles are only powerful as board clears when they can be annexed to a minion play on the same turn, so that it's actually a board swing. Because simply clearing the board against Odd Paladin will not be enough. They can very easily refill their board at little to no cost to themselves with just the hero power. So I was actually hoping to see Kylan just maybe play 1 missiles next turn, hope to clear off everything with the hero power, then next turn go Kirin Tor missiles and the secret, and hopefully stick the Kirin Tor that turn. So it is just going to be a little bit of cleanup this turn.
It doesn't have much choice here.
Yeah. Creeper will more likely than not survive, but at least this will stunt the power of the Frostful Warlord.
Yep, going into turn 5, that and the Fungal Mancer are both important cards to play around as best as Kylan's can. So he goes with the Cinderstorm as well. Uh-oh. Well, that's not good.
No way! That is really unlucky.
So now Yansu is free to pretty much play whatever he wants. Yeah, go with a 5-mana 7/7. That's hard to deal with.
A counterspell is not going to do much at all because there's hardly any spells in the Odd Paladin deck. Blessing of Might was already played. And having to block a Divine Favor is the least of the mage's worries right now. Because they've hardly done anything themselves. Wasting no time at all, the turn play themselves at this position. And Kylan looks like his job on the team for this series is going to come to a very abrupt end.
This is a blisteringly fast game, but there is absolutely nothing that Kylan can do about this. The damage is on board to kill him.
That is lethal. Even if the Fungal Mancer had died there, there's Vine Cleaver available.
Yeah.
And Kylan, I don't know what he's thinking about. Probably what deck to tell his teammates to play next against this Paladin.
I guess so. That's pretty much all there is to think about now, as the first game goes to Team WE. RNG, who had not lost a single game until this point today, does start this game with a loss. Start the series with a loss, rather.
Mentioning in LHS, when you have 5 decks to choose from, there's always going to be, well, almost always going to be a strong counter pick. So in the event that the odds go as you might expect, then losing the first game puts you at a disadvantage to win 2-3. So lose 2-3, sorry.
So RNG's counter picks are Warlock, Shaman, Rogue, or Druid. So that's Zoo Warlock. It's the elemental. Sorry, no, it's Peanut Shaman. So Zoo Warlock, Peanut Shaman. The Rogue is Quest Rogue.
Did they not get their Zoo banned? I remember someone saying Zoo got banned. I don't know.
I remember saying that, but I did take a photo of the remaining decks, and Warlock is there. So I guess the other team got their Warlock banned.
All right. So Peanut Shaman, Zoo. What did you say?
So yeah, Peanut Shaman, Zoo, Quest Rogue, and the Druid is Tog, I think. Yeah, Togwaggle Druid.
All right. I confess I am not an expert of the Peanut Shaman ways.
No.
But I see that the Peanut Shaman includes a copy of Wild Pyro, Double Doomsayer. That seems pretty decent. The Zoo list has no Despicable Dreadlords, so I am not looking at that as a counter queue at all.
So Tog Druid is reasonable.
Yeah, Plague always strong.
Plague,
but I'm kind of looking at this Shaman. I just want to see it.
Okay, yeah, I want to see it as well, but I don't know if that means we will see it. But I would like to see it. It won't be the Quest Rogue. We know Quest Rogue won't be the pick, so it's Peanut Shaman or it's Tog Druid. Which of these decks is more likely to get more than one win, I guess, is what RNG are thinking. Togwaggle Druid is definitely capable of sweeping lineups. That deck is very strong. But Peanut Shaman does seem to be one of the better of the newer decks.
Yeah. Control. And it's necessary to have some sort of solid counter queue against each type of archetype in this format. So I think this is the pick that makes the most sense. Oh, instead they're going with Tog Druid though.
Yep.
Unfortunate.
Okay. That's fine. I'm sure we'll get the chance. Well, we may get the chance to see Peanut Shaman a little bit later, but for now, yeah. I'm not too surprised to see Togwaggle Druid. It's considered to be very strong against Odd Paladin, thanks to Spreading Plague, thanks to Swipe, thanks to all the defensive tools it has. And it's a pick that is likely to be able to beat up several of Team WE's decks.
Where he hurts more than usual, because the only answer that Odd Paladin had to Spreading Plague was something like level up before to take. And it's not even the cleanest answer unless you get to somehow double level up. You would have to trade over the minions in 2 turns. Now they're forced to play Void Ripper, to try and deal with that. And there's only one copy of it in the Odd Paladin for Team WE.
But it sounds like the game is just about getting ready to... Well, I mean, it doesn't sound like anything. I couldn't hear anything. But it looked like the game was about to start based on the caster's expressions. And here we are. Game number 2.
You just have a little synesthesia, Falk. Like, you can hear what you see.
Yeah. Sure, we'll go with that.
All right. So, for the Odd Paladin, that's a 1-drop. Not the greatest 1-drop, but it's something to do.
It's acceptable here, though. I mean, the best thing Liz can do is hero power it down. I don't think he's going to want to do that because that renders his next turn useless as well. So Yansu's going to get to hit face with this and also start to generate a board. Firefly must be tempting here. He's going to hero power.
Yeah, it puts the same amount of damage on the board. And with the Wild Growth nerf, RNG list does not have to deal with the eternal dilemma of whether he hero powers or plays Wild Growth.
Well, he kind of does, because he could coin out Wild Growth.
Okay, with the draw of Ferocious Howl, that does at least give him something to do next turn, but I like saving the coin because he has Nourish.
Yeah. Are we both thinking the same thing? Oh, no, okay, never mind, you're good.
Why? What was that?
I was going to say, we both trying to work out which more that is. No, you got it, okay.
It's, this one has a little shield on the card, I think. So that's what I use as my cheat.
It's a good cheat.
Yeah. The red one is the Divine Shield, the blue one is the Summon Minion. And the one that isn't all of those is the plus attack.
Well, Liz has to Wild Growth here, which means he's going to be taking some serious damage this turn, especially if Yansu decides to drop the Raid Leader.
Man, if this hand were pre-nerf from the Druid, my goodness. Yansu gets the Divine Shield Maul now, which is a little bit tempting going into a turn where Liz is now able to play Swipe. But I really like cashing in the damage. Oh.
So, my problem with this is that, well, really, this is a problem regardless of what Yansu does. But next turn, Liz could quit out Spreading Plague.
Mm-hmm.
And this board doesn't beat Spreading Plague. There it is.
Oh my gosh, what a top deck. He even has just enough board space to fit in the Arcane Tyrant.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a turn. We've been doing this all day, Gia. We've been calling what the player needs to draw, and then it's been happening.
So the downside of coining out Spreading Plague is that when he plays Nourish the next turn, he still won't be able to play UI the turn after because he had used coin by that point. But this is too good to pass up.
Oh, it's so good. Generate 630 of stats on the board. And then the Tyrant on top of that. 1034 of stats on the board.
I'd play that card. Yeah, he was hoping and praying for a Void Ripper top deck there, but it is only a deck. It's not today, so the best thing he can do now is Fungalmancer. But it's not that great.
I guess he could play Stonehill Defender and dig for Tarim. Sure. Next turn might be too late, though.
The funny thing is, you don't have the space to hero power up, and because you took Divine Shield, or Yansu took Divine Shield, he can't trade off 2 minions and then hero power up, which is a little weird.
It's kind of awkward. All Lise needs now is like a big old branching paths or something, and he's going to be in a good position to just win the game on the backswing. And even if he doesn't get that, and he's got the 2 Nourishes now, he's got Ultimate Infestation, Malfurion. Like you said, this is a dream hand, especially pre-nerf.
Yeah. Wow, all the world. Yeah, surely this is a Nourish turn. What? Nourish and Hero Power seems just fine to me. Maybe he sees an argument for going for the Ferocious Howl to dig for something. No matter which way he plays the ramp, it will not fill out the curve to UI in the most convenient way. He's always going to float some of the ramp if he decides to use Wild Growth and Nourish. Clearing this Divine Shield for the Arcane Tyrant to trade. Wow, I would have expected him to at least trade into the 1/1 Divine Shield. What? Wow.
Okay.
This is due respect for Void Ripper.
It's very risky. I mean, a second Maul that buffed the minion's attacks drawn now, or a Raid Leader would do some serious work. Oh, I guess not the Raid Leader, because he didn't have any space to play a minion.
Oh, that's
which
what
would
he
be
was
why,
trying to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
I see. That makes a lot more sense now.
And this is the sort of the final awkward turn for Lys, though Malfurion the Pestilent looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's not quite awkward to me. That and Hero Power for attack. And now that Yuansu is able to trade off minions on his own, RNG List deciding to clear off minions now. But he's also getting to the point where he's done so much face damage, he has UI coming up, that he can just try to go for some type of lethal in the next 2 to 3 turns. Raid Leader, and Blessing of Might. None of those solve the awkward 4/1 that has already taken a great value trade and also will deal with the Stonehill in one hit. The leftmost minion will get the buff.
Yes.
I know it's called belligerent something.
Well, at least we know it's belligerent. And I mean, there's no real benefit to going with the 9 cost card. I still like the going for the cheapest and most powerful minion here. So I like the pick. Can Yonsu get through these horrible taunts someday?
He can partially, but he will just get UI'd. Wild Growth and Nourish nerf is gonna stop the plague.
I expect it will be the Raid Leader that gets hit by the UI, because Lys is in no hurry to kill Yonsu, but if he can just prevent these Scarabs from being killed over the next couple turns, then that's all he needs to do.
Yep. And Yuansu is like, huh, I guess I lost this game. Sometimes you just can't do things against that kind of draw from the Druid, and of course the Druid was queued up with this exact expectation of being able to bully the Odd Paladin like this.
Yep, it was a top deck that saved Lys. The Spreading Plague was picked up off the top, but even so, Yonsu is still fighting back. He's got the Fungal Mancer now. That's going to do some damage to these remaining Scarabs.
A formality now though, because Yuansu has very little in the way. Refill, he needs Divine Favor to come back from this point. I believe it's a 1-of in the deck. Lys doesn't have a second Spreading Plague, but between the minions on board, his Hero Power, Ferocious Howl to dig for something else, and also Wrath. He just has removal. Worst case scenario, the Baku gets answered by Naturalize, and he's on such a high health total that nothing can be done.
Does Yansu even run any big value generation card in his Even Paladin? I'm just gonna try and
it's
have
just
sorry,
Favor,
Paladin.
yeah.
It is just the one Divine Favor? Okay.
Yeah, there's no Witch's Cauldron. That's what it's called, right?
That is what it's called, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen in some other tournaments recently some players running one of each, some players running 2 of one and none of the other, but yeah, Yansu just needs to get that single draw then. It's the only way he can even think about coming back.
Beyond that, I can see a way that RNG list just goes for a lethal pretty soon. I like Korean voice line for Dream Petal Florist is still flower power. It's cute. It sounds cuter.
Hey, that would have been a good draw earlier.
Yeah, about 3 turns ago.
Oh boy.
Baku. Trade again. And accept your fate, I suppose. You know what would be max BM? Azalina. Right now. Just this hand.
Just to take the Void Ripper? I don't know.
Yeah, and throw the rest of your hand. Max BM.
I don't know if I'd feel like throwing the game if I was Lise here. I think I'd probably want to just win. He could click on it by accident.
But the max BM, it might be the highest BM opportunity of your entire life. The Azalina to throw a full hand to get 1 card. I've never seen it before.
He might really want to know what that 1 card is.
That's true. It's an information.
It's just itching away at him. What is that card? What is it? Oh!
This deck had Witch's Cauldron. If this deck had Witch's Cauldron, it might have been more fun to watch an Azalina into a fully randomly generated Shaman spell hand. That would have been fun.
I mean, if this deck had Witch's Cauldron, then yeah, after the Spreading Plague turn, Yansu may have been able to start generating some real resources there. But hey, this is pretty interesting. Tog and Azalina both cost 0.
Can UI after Tog Azalina.
Could Tog?
Because if you Azalina your opponent's nearly empty hand. Oh, sorry. You can't UI after that. You have to Tog UI and then Azalina.
But they could go Tog, Azalina, then switch the decks back again in the same turn with the King's Ransom they take, and even fit in Leroy Jenkins for that turn.
Oh, fun! I like how you... Not gonna see it this turn.
Or ever. Why would you switch decks then switch it back straight away?
To take the Leroy for, again, max BM.
Were you thinking in terms of BM when you won WSOE?
I was not. But I also don't position that this favored to win from that spot.
That's true.
Hey, he's got lethal with double swipes. Not even a need for the fully discount meeting.
Ah, those florists did nothing. Either way, Liz takes his first game of the series. The score is now 1-1. And Yansu has to find a counter for Togwaggle Druid. Well, sorry, Leon's team, Team WE, has to find a counter.
For Tog Druid. Looking for another aggressive deck, I suppose. And something that doesn't go as wide as Odd Paladin. Instead, a tall aggressive deck.
So let's take a look, shall we? The remaining decks for Team WE are Dramatic Pause and Shaman, Warrior, Druid, and Mage.
Okay. So the Mage is aggressive. It's not your big spell Mage. It is that odd Mage that includes Diremals and things like Clockwork, Automaton. You've got
That's right.
Fungalmancer. So that seems like a pretty solid pick.
The Druid is Malygos Druid.
Mm-hmm.
The Warrior is Odd Warrior without Azalina and without the quest, so that's definitely not being picked.
No way.
And the Shaman...
Yeah.
The Shaman is the elemental
the Shaman.
Shaman.
Looks strong. Yeah.
It does look strong. Blaze
just because the minions scale up in a very strong curve. And against Druids that run Spreading Plague, you want to be curving out in, with minions that use your entire mana cost. Not curving out the way Odd Paladin might, which is fitting in a 1-drop minion with your hero power or something. Instead, you want to be consistently scaling up so that you're never too punished by Spreading Plague. And I think the Shaman deck, the way it's built, is engineered to curve that way. It's also got things like Fungalmancer, which is very strong against Druid in general, and a lot of chunky minions in the mid game. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing the Shaman here. And I think it was the pick there. I did get a glimpse of the classes.
It makes sense. And I don't think we've seen one of these. Peanutty or Elementally or new Shudderwock, I guess we should say, Shaman yet today. In fact, the only Shaman we've seen is even Shaman. So, yeah, I'd quite like to see this deck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen a Bog Slosher do its thing before.
Yeah, it's definitely strong synergy with Shudderwock. You don't go infinite. And as you can see, they've already got a strong 1 curve. Any buff card has traditionally been good against Druid. For Team WE, I wouldn't even be mad if they decided to keep one of the higher cost minions in his hand as well, just because it ensures that they have something strong to do in the mid game. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4. That is what Druid does not want to see.
That's what you want. This curves out very nicely. The buff will add another random elemental to the hand. I'm not sure how Bog Slosher really fits into this curve, unfortunately. If he's buffing the Firefly, he's not going to want to then bounce it.
Right. Well, the curve looks something more like 1, 2, coin 4, and then find something else to do.
Oh.
Or this.
Okay, so the advantage here is that next turn he replays the Firefly, gets another Flame Elemental too, but then he's playing an Elemental into turn 4, so the Tolvir Stone Shaper will get its proc.
Strong, and barring any removal from the Druid, the Earthenmite will still find a target here, so this makes a lot of sense.
Look at this board, Gia.
I love it. Yeah, just a 5/5 4 turn 3, chillin'. And the Druid has its wild growths. It has its Spreading Plague, but the board is just not going to go wide.
Oh yeah.
And if it does, it's going to go an equal amount tall.
Spreading Plague isn't nearly going to be as good against this deck as it was against the Shaman. The Paladin, sorry.
It's just a shame that there's not much that the Cosmic Anomaly has synergy with in this deck, because there's no room for things like Lava Burst, for things like Lightning Bolt. The deck is almost all minions. It was worth considering though that the anomaly was just more damage as a minion than the 12-year. And looking at the deck lists, I don't think there's a convenient way for this Tog Druid to deal with just a 4/3.
It's amazing how just good, well-statted minions in Hearthstone can just do this. You can just get yourself ahead on the board when you're against a deck that sort of doesn't play in the traditional sense of playing on curve and playing bigger and bigger minions. They just can't deal with this.
And I did kind of miss this, honestly, just curving out and trading. Oh, we don't see trades on board, but this is the kind of deck that largely struggled back when things like Odrogue were so strong that they could deal with any early game. Of course, we've seen in this matchup, an Odrogue, for example, would have been able to deal with any minion before it got buffed. But maybe the nerfs have made room for this kind of deck to find a place in the meta now.
Right. Is it bad that whenever I look at that Firefly, I just see Totem Golem?
No, it's not bad at all. That's a great sign.
No coin, so Yoyi can't set up for Blaze Caller next turn, unfortunately, though it's looking like he may not need it. Then again, Ultimate Infestation is going to come down next turn by the looks of things. Maybe not? Oh, now maybe it has to be Spreading Plague. Oh, Spreading Plague Swipe, alright.
Gotta watch that video from Rusty. Is it better to play UI? Or is it better to play Plague and wait for your swipe out?
Well, when you draw the swipe out immediately, I think that one takes the cake.
I think it's not exactly an out here because a lot of the things have been too. It's really close though. So UI would put List back to 16, but there's already 12 facing him down on board.
Yeah. So this is the only way he saves a big chunk of that health.
And I want to see him cash in the swipe now just for mana efficiency's sake.
The Shaman doesn't have any wide board clears apart from Kalimos, so there's no storm or anything like that going to happen to these scarabs. There you go. As you said, cashed in the swipe there.
It was a consideration as to which minion he wanted to put the 4 damage on. There were 3 strong candidates. All the ones in the middle had an argument for them. By putting the swipe on, it bigger down, but I don't think Liz can afford to play around UE at this point because Liz is so far behind that he needs to hope that UE's hand is weak from here on out. It's looking a lot stronger.
Well, now finally Elise gets to draw through a lot of his deck, and maybe he finds the tools he needs now in order to stem the tide that is Yi's actually pretty insane tempo game so far. Yes, the Tyrant goes down immediately. Elise may even consider playing Innovate Naturalize, though he doesn't have a good target for it.
The start of Liz coming back. UE's hand is running pretty dry, I guess. Grumble allows to get battle cries back, but most of these minions are just generating small things that do not help if Spreading Plague is in hand. And Liz has drawn so much that UE has to be pretty scared of it. The second one, that is. just Blaze Collar to clear a 5.
And now, what's the comeback from Lise? I guess he's got Malfurion, plus defensive hero power, plus innovate Wrath as being his most defensive play.
Wait, I mean, just swipe here is insane, right? Swipe and Wrath, rather.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think Liz is in a really good position after having cleared... Well, the 6/6 won't be the most convenient clear. He'll probably have to use 2 pieces of removal. But he can also just hero power down the Phoenix. Oh, for max draw. Yeah, can definitely get behind this.
I like it. I like it. And that is a comeback. Definitely. Yi needs to draw his Hagatha, his Kalamos, his Shudderwock being one of the other key options there. So now it's make the biggest board he can, I guess.
What has he juiced up the Shudderwock with? There's one Bog Slosher played, one 12-year Warden.
2 Fireflies.
2 Fireflies. Nothing that great, right? We haven't seen a Fungal Mancer yet.
I think you're right. I think that's it. That's not great, is it? As exciting as this seemed, it's not great.
Yeah. The biggest board involves Fireflies and bounces.
Right. But the Shudderwock is nothing a Naturalize can't deal with.
Right. I do think that he would rather go wide than play Grumble this turn, though, because you want to be playing Shudderwock into an existing board so that you get the benefit of the Bog Slosher battle price.
Okay, so he's still gone wide, but in a slightly different way.
Okay. This means that the Shudderwock will bounce the minions, though. And if the Grumble battle cry goes off first, the buffs with the Bog Slosher?
No. If the Grumble goes off first, then that'll be what returns them to the hand, so the Bog Slosher won't do anything.
Right, he'll miss those.
It would mean he'd have a 1-mana Grumble in his hand, if this Grumble survives on the board this turn. Potentially. I'm just not sure how much that helps, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 1-mana Grumble, there was a time when that was GG. But that was a time when Saronite Chain Gang did not only copy itself. And just use the Spellstone to clear off the Grumble, along with a trade from his Arcane Tyrant. If he does Marion, it feels a little worse to have to use the Spellstone like this because you're overkilling for 3 essentially. But there's no way he loses if he respects the Grumble, right?
I wouldn't have thought so. Like, it looks like the Togwaggle Druid has stabilized enough. Okay. Well, Servant of Kalamos is a good draw. Because if he gets a Kalamos from this that can be played next turn, then Shudderwock goes crazy because it generates another elemental, it gets another Kalamos effect.
Immediately bounce this Kalamos with the Bog Slosher?
He could play Menacing Nimbus, which would be another elemental, which this dramatically improves Yui's value game.
Yes. For that reason, I really like the Menacing Nimbus here. I don't even know the name of the one in the middle.
Bog Slosher, I think.
What? Isn't that the card in hand?
That is the card in hand. It's Bog something. What is it? It's Bog something.
Oh no. Yes, it is now. Bog Creeper?
Yes. Maybe?
Alright. List still hasn't drawn into his Azalina. Also can't guarantee that the Florist will land on the Togwaggle. But he can go for another Plague turn after trading off these 1 forest into the Servant of Kalamos.
Bog Shaper.
Shaper. Okay.
And yes, I just opened up Hearthstone myself to check that.
I would have gone Bog Shaman card on Google. But alright. We all know that Google helped me answer who made the first bridge. Okay, so RNG List is gonna go for card draw there. The other player will trade into Calamus and go for Plague, Paths for attack. Sorry, Plague, Tyrant, and then Pass for attack. But that does make his draw a little bit slower, and he ultimately needs to get to that switch decks and mill win condition because it's going to be tough to outvalue the Shaman and just play a control game against it. With the draw of UI though, the second proc of the paths is used for attack, so he doesn't overdraw next turn.
And now it's a tough decision for Yui, because he could play the Shudder now, where Grumble would eventually go off, bounce the Servant, which may be a 1-cost minion. Maybe it's better to play the Menacing Nimbus this turn, though, and get an even bigger Shadowwalk next turn.
Tough to say. He also has to be aware of how much time he has from Yui's perspective. He hasn't seen Florist come down yet, so he knows he's not going to get comboed in the near future.
That's what you want.
We definitely know the name of that one.
I play that in all of my decks.
Storm Chaser! I love that card. But unfortunately, there is no Bloodlust, no Stormbringer in the deck.
Not even a Volcano.
It's getting to the point where I wonder if the Shudderwalk even have enough hand space to get everything done, because there's been so many card generation effects and there's so many bounce effects.
I mean, the longer this game goes on, the more it's just looking like Yui can't win this. I'm now imagining Lise Azalina-ing into the Shudderwalk and trying to work out what that would mean. Every time he played Shudderwalk, he'd copy his opponent's hand again. So
that'd be amazing. If only.
Is the win condition for Lise ever Tog naturalize? No, that's only 15 damage. I'm thinking like togging without forcing your opponent to keep your deck.
It's tough to say. I do think we're still going to be seeing Tog and Azalina in conjunction, but it's getting to the point where if Yui plays Shudderwalk, he might have so full of a hand that Liz won't even have to play Azalina to get himself a copy of the ransom card. He could just naturally mill the ransom from Yui. So I wonder how long Yui's gonna wait before he pulls the trigger on the Shudderwalk. He's seen
not much longer
now, right?
By the looks of things, it's the only play.
And I like that he saved the Flame Elemental for after Shudderwalk so that he can still create some card space in his hand.
How many Flame Elementals does he want?
Probably not this many. I think he'd have rather gotten the Grumble Battle Cry first.
I mean,
or Bog Slosher.
You predicted that hand space would be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if Lise right now played Tog, Naturalize, he'd go face with the 4 on the board, and he'd get 15 damage through fatigue. So that would put Yui on 2. The problem is, I don't know how Lise would then deal that final 2 damage.
Yeah. And
He's
you
doing
will
it, though.
he will get the ransom card.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. But then on 2 health, can you actually prevent the hero power from killing him next turn? And this huge board from killing him? No, I don't think he can deal with this board.
Nope.
This is one of the things I love about Togwaggle, though. It's the fact that it's so versatile. It's the same with Hakar Druid. You don't need to use Hakar for the win condition. Occasionally, just emptying your deck and going Tog, naturalize is enough.
Succinctly put, I have nothing else to add. It was a clean game, and Liss realized that he didn't need to go for the full Dream Petal and Azalina win condition. He just had the board from that state, and now they're 2-1 favorite to win. I'm seeing teammates over on the Team WE side. It looked like somebody was giving a harsh comment, but that is just from facial expressions. I can't tell.
Well, the counterpick of the Shaman was unsuccessful, and that leaves the Odd Warrior, which is not getting queued into Togwaggle. It just won't happen.
Nope.
It leaves the Malagos Druid, or it leaves the Mage, the odd hero power Mage.
This Mage, generally Druid feels comfortable against decks that center on burst as their win condition because they just have armor to outlast that. But this type of Mage these days is packing way more minion pressure than previous aggro mages, that I think it's not necessarily bad against Druid.
No, it's difficult to tell because it's still quite a new archetype. Something else they might consider is that, again, they have to, whichever deck they pick next, they have to win 2 games in a row with. They may decide that Malagos Druid is just the safer way to go there.
Right.
It can beat Togwaggle Druid. It can beat all sorts of other decks as well.
I don't know. I feel like Druid struggles against Tog because they can gain as much armor as the Malagos Druid can, which is a lot. It takes quite long for the Malagos Druid to piece together the entire combo as well. But then again, so it does it for Tog. But the Tog Druid has that advantage of being able to mill cards very easily, which could easily ruin the Malagos combo. It's tough to say.
It is. I think I'm going to predict that the Malagos Druid is what comes up. We're about to find out. I got it wrong. I tried. It's the
That's
Mage.
alright.
You win this round.
And I'm honestly pretty happy to see this because this Mage that kind of came out of the woodwork post the most recent patch, and it's nice to see that there's some newer developments in the meta.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing things like Dire Mole in the deck, which always makes me wonder if they're running the card that buffs beasts when they're drawn, but unfortunately it's not in the list.
Yeah, I mean, the list that we saw earlier ran Vicious Fledgling and no Dire Mole, so this is running Dire Mole, more of a lower curve. I don't believe the list earlier ran Secret Keeper either, whereas this version does. We're talking 2 copies of Secret Keeper plus 5 secrets. I got two ahead of myself there. 2 counterspell, 2 explosive runes, and 1 mirror entity.
Yeah. And Mass Contender does not buff Secret Keeper, right?
It does not, that's correct.
Yeah. Which has been pretty weird because I believe the wording on that card and the wording on Secret Keeper says whenever you play a secret. But yeah, that is how that interaction works.
Now,
that it's not actually played to buff the Secret Keeper.
That's an opening hand. With all 1-drops, though 2 of them get thrown away by Team WE.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. You don't really necessarily want to play a 1-drop on other turns than turn 1 against the Mage. Like, against the Druid, sorry. Like, you start your curve with it, and then from that point on, every time you play a 1-drop, you're like, is this extending too far into Plague? Is this actually gonna put in enough damage that it's worth that risk? And Yulav definitely would have rather drawn this Kirintar Mage and gets rewarded for it.
Oh, right. I mean, next turn is incredible for Yulav, whether he decides to go with the Kirintar Mage in the secret or not. He's still got the Pyromaniac. He may decide to hold off on the counterspell until after the coin's been played, but even then, actually hitting the coin with counterspell isn't always the worst thing.
Yeah, not necessarily. Sometimes it stops a UI turn, or sorry, stops a Malfurion turn, more likely, because even if the coin weren't there, the spell would have stopped. The counter spell would have stopped the coined out spell anyway. And now Lee's already gonna respect counterspell there.
Yep, he can still play the Ferocious Howl this turn if he wants to, or he could Spellstone down the Kirintar Mage and Hero Power it to finish it off. Yeah. So plenty of good options for him.
It was a good coin no matter which way it went, because even if that spell was, say, Explosive Runes, the coin would have allowed Liz to go Ferocious Howl, and with the remaining mana, use the buff Spellstone to kill the Kirintar Mage. And now I wonder if he might even use Innervate for that purpose.
I think I like this play more, just holding on at the moment to the Innervate and using it a little later, either for, again, an early Malfurion, an early Ultimate Infestation, or even to play one of those 1-mana spells after an Ultimate Infestation.
Yeah, Innervate, very flexible card, and also one of the things you'd want to proc the second counterspell with, if ever.
True, yeah.
So Yulav, this is not the best curve play for him if he wants to still hold back the Flame Elemental in case of Spreading Plague. But I think the hand is telling him to just play some minions. He's not getting that super high value top end that he would have wanted. Things like Janalai, Cobalt Scalebane, things like Fungal Mancer. So I think the hand is telling him to go all in here.
Yep, agreed. There's still time to draw those big cards, though. He's still got a few more turns. Like, Funkelmans could come up next turn or the turn after. Janalai could come up the turn after that, and that would all be fine. But I agree with what you're saying. Go all in now. Deal as much damage as you can. Yulav wins this game. Well, the earlier this game ends, the more likely it is that Yulav has won it.
Wrong swipe. It is a question of whether he'd get rid of the Kirintar Mage, which is more damage on board, or the Pyromaniac, which allows for possible value generation. If the Pyromaniac would have lived there, it's pretty interesting. Yulav could have for paying off his own minion. Does Pyromaniac only trigger when you kill enemy minions?
No, I believe it's whenever you kill a minion with the hero power.
Right, so I would have wanted to see that play. But unfortunately, it is the Kirintar Mage instead that survives.
But what does Lys do now with his 5 mana, or 6 with the Innervate? Still a little awkward there. He could Spellstone away one of these Kirintar Mages, I guess.
To Wild Growth with the rest of your mana? Well,
I don't
possibly.
mind that.
I don't hate Branching Pass for double armor either.
Along with the Spellstone? Yeah.
Yeah. Or even like 1 draw 1 armor, because you are gonna probably Vate Malfurion next turn. But yeah, this mage feels very much how Odd Rogue used to feel, where it's very reliant on having strong early game into like decent threats off the top. And then instead of things like Myra's and Leroy, you instead have Janalai.
Wow. Yulav's still drawing his low curve here.
Quite unfortunate.
This is not what he wants against a deck that runs Spreading Plague. That being
it's
said,
for that reason.
yeah, 9 health remaining now for Elise.
He did pull the trigger on that Malfurion, so it's not coming down this turn, but... Sorry, on that Innervate, so Malfurion's not coming down this turn. But Branching Paths...
Yeah. Branching Paths is absolutely fine here.
And the Darmol is not even really worth spellstoning. He could just play Ooze, I suppose. Well, it dies to hero power, but it's not really doing much else. It's not like the mage has Alaneth because it is an odd mage. Okay, that's card draw.
Still falling a little bit flat here. I expect
closer and closer to the desperation where he plays these one-shots that he's been holding back just because he has no other way of generating threats, and that's exactly what Liss wants. He has Spreading Plague.
Yeah. He's just waiting for it. But even... Maybe this is the right turn for Yulov to go ahead with the 1-drop, because we're going into the Malfurion turn here. And Liss can't play Spreading Plague and Malfurion in the same turn.
Liss already knows that one of these cards is a Flame Elemental. The other two, he must have a pretty good read that it's, like, low-value minions. Just Malfurion.
Yep, seems pretty straightforward. And now Elise, once again, for another game in a row, seems to have turned that corner. This is the 3rd game in a row that the Togwaggle Druid's looking like it might win, right?
It really is. It's just gonna...
Elise is looking at getting his very own team kill.
So Mirror Entity into that at least thins out his deck a little bit.
You know what's one of the strangest things to me about the Korean Hearthstone client?
Mm-hmm.
The question marks on secrets look different.
Yeah, they're thinner, right?
Like, why is that?
I have no idea. Maybe the font set they're using has a different question mark design in the font.
I guess so.
Because the fonts for the text are characters instead of the English alphabet. But don't quote me on that. I have no idea.
I like it. They're very quizzical.
I can see some of those question marks arising over Yulov's own head instead of just Jaina's head. Thinking, how am I supposed to win from this spot?
Where are my big cards?
Where's my Janalai?
Okay. Alright. Keep talking to me.
But sure.
Yeah, never mind. I was talking to the black cat. Sorry, Gia. But,
good to know you talk to cats, Falcone.
But Baku drawn is not the card that you'd have wanted to see. It's unplayable this turn. Yikes.
Yikes, from me too. UI. Of course, yeah, Liss did test for second counterspell already, right? So he knows that these are Mirror Entity and Explosive Runes. Don't think he'd feel too bad about just feeding the Tyrant so he doesn't overdraw something like, say, Dream Petal Florist.
Just seems like the correct play, doesn't it? Yes, okay, Yulov gets a copy of it, but does that really matter at this point? Liss still has 31 health. Well, okay. 29 health now.
it is kind of just going through the motions for you, Love, and it's because this mage deck doesn't run too much in terms of card generations that can get you a niche out. The only random card generation is Servant of Kalamos, I think. And I don't know any single elemental that is available to mage that could turn the situation around. Spellstones, Wraths, and even Second Plague if he so chooses. Lena is still available.
He's just got all of the options in the world now. And again, we're in that position that we see time and time again where the player is sitting there thinking, not how do I win this, but how could I possibly lose? And what play do I need to make to guarantee that that doesn't happen?
I'm liking using a Spellstone and a Wrath to deal with Baku, another Spellstone to deal with the 4/4, and then Hero Power onto the 2/3, and then 5/5 into the 1/2, but this is not going that way. And I guess this is just making sure that he has at least some removal to deal with Janalai as soon as it comes down, because that seems like it's the only way he could possibly lose.
It's drawn! It's far too late, but at least it's drawn now.
Yep.
What's the best case scenario? I guess it's just going face, and even that's not good enough.
Yeah. Unfortunate that it's been so many dead draws in a row for that, queuing the mage into the druid. Plague we saw, or was it the second? Because if it was the second, I don't see why you love would ever hesitate to play Dire Mode.
I feel like that was the first still.
Okay.
I'm not 100% certain about that, but I don't recall one being played earlier this game. I think, yeah, we had Mouth into Ultimate Infestation.
Well, RNG, Lee's gonna start off with drawing 3 cards. Even after the 6 mana expenditure, he has Spellstones to deal with Ragnaros very easily.
Yep, Lee's just continuing to sort of just chill, really, just survive. In a few more turns, he'll be able to do his Togwaggle combo. And then that's going to be lights out for Yulov. I don't think there's anything else huge in Yulov's deck that he can draw. I think he's got Fungalmancer, and that's about it. Scalehide. Clockwork Automaton can do some work, I guess.
It has to be Servant of Kalamos into a Miracle, right? He still has been holding on to this Flame Element, an activator for something like Servant of Kalamos and Blaze Color. Just not seeing it.
I don't think this version, or this exact build even runs Blaze Caller. Team WEs.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was looking at RNG's list.
But now even having even played the Flame Elemental, even Stargazer Luna won't do anything now.
RNG at least could still, maybe if he hasn't kept track of the secrets well, he does something careless, like just play the Florist into the Explosive Runes and it doesn't get the discount off.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that he falls for that one, though.
Nope.
He wants to draw another minion now to proc the secret before he can go ahead and play the Dream Petal Florist. He's not actually running Twig in his deck. So, oh, it's okay. He's drawn Floop. That's fine
now. WE.
That's a card.
That's the new Mana Worm, I suppose.
Ulov is just trying to push any damage he can, but there, now Lys is out of cards, and you know what? He's going to do the same thing again. He's going to play Tog, Naturalize, clearing Ulov's board, and leaving him with just Secret Keeper to play next turn. I really love this play.
It's just good of the fact that the mage cannot do anything.
And worst case scenario, if the mage could do something, next turn Lys could go the flooped Tog, innovate as Alina, and forever switch decks without the ransom being a problem. I think he might even do that this turn.
For the max BM play here.
Yes, we're gonna see it. Oh, this is so great.
Oh, fun.
Oh no, he's not. He's just killing Ulov because that makes a lot more sense. He's just killing him now. And Lys and Team RNG take the series. RNG going up 2-0 and making their way all the way to finals day on Friday. We won't be seeing them again until then, but they've earned their spot for sure, with Lee and Lys really carrying the team.
Similar names and similarly skilled players. We did see a while ago Leo take 3-0 victory versus SKT. And I remember at the very start of this broadcast, there was an interview question asking 6-0 if they won today, what would they be doing in the 2-day break? And 6-0 said ordering pizza. I wonder what Team RNG would now that the honor falls to them.
Is that really what Zixo's thinking about nowadays, pizza? I'm pretty sure his Twitter picture was a pizza at one point.
Oh, right now it's a side up, right? I guess it's just whatever.
There you go. Lys, 3 wins in a row with Togwaggle Druid. What a strong deck it still is, even now.
A few weeks ago, I never would have thought. It was one of the decks, of course, hit really hard by the Druid Nurse, and that's why people started gravitating Hakar Druid instead, because that deck didn't necessarily need to run Wild Growth or Nourish.